Welcome to another episode of In the Nude. Today I want to talk about how all roads lead back to you. Everything in this journey, this life that you want to have, all of the healing, all of the thriving, everything you want, the answer you have, it's within. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that. Let's start with why it doesn't feel like that. There's an innate thing that happens with a kid, right? Every child, if you watch children and you see children, they have this wonder for life. They have this ability to find the fun. And each child is a little different, but there's always a level of like they know how to just exist, right? They can find fun playing in dirt or a cardboard box. It doesn't matter. They don't have to have toys. They don't have to have anything. They're not looking for anything other than enjoyment. They're just looking to experience. It's how they can get into a car accident and somehow still find wonder in it when we find frustration, okay? But something that's built in, innate in children is this desire to connect and this desire for being known and having affection. And when we're not given this known, when we're not offered this connection, when we're not accepted for fully who we are, when we're given boxes and strings and we're given lack of affection or inconsistency in our affection, when we're given disconnection, we as children have this innate thought process, something is wrong with me. It wouldn't be like this because we have this nature. We know that this is how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to connect. We're supposed to invest. We're supposed to like have this love we know. So if we're not having it, our internal child self goes, there's something wrong with me. So we start looking outside of ourselves for this fix, this solution, not knowing that the reason we're not getting those things has nothing to do with who we are and has to do with the scars that the person who's supposed to be giving us love never healed. Or as my kids like to put it, they never unpacked the suitcase. So we have this innate constant like looking outside of ourselves for something that we always had. Because we couldn't give it to ourselves. We didn't know how to as little kids. And so we constantly have this like over there or over here, or if I get that, or if I feel that way, or if I achieve this. But all roads lead back to you. You want to feel fill in the blank, accepted, loved, successful. All of these things that you're wanting to feel aren't going to be achieved by getting to a location, but by coming back to you. There's this truth, right? Okay, so nervous system, right? There's this dysregulation that happens, right? When you're in this place of fight or flight, your body actively is at this frequency of stress, of disjointed, right? So there's all this talk about regulating your nervous system. Stimulating your vagal nerve, which literally helps both your cardiovascular, your digestive system, your heart, all of that, right? Okay. So there's all these tangible things you can do to regulate your nervous system. But do you know what one of the most effective, almost all of the most effective ways to regulate your nervous system, do you know what they all come back to? You. And I mean specifically you and how you treat you. You probably have a person in your head who parrots negative things, right? Imposter syndrome, you name what you want to call it. But there's this bully that parrots the words and the feelings you had as a little kid. You're not worthy of that. No wonder they treat you that way. Oh, it's just going to fall. It's just going to fail. It's just going to mess up. You're going to screw it up. That internal bullying, that internal shaming, that internal denigration you have on yourself, that literally puts your entire body dysregulated. It puts you in a place of being unsafe. It tells your body there is danger. And you can't escape it. You foster that environment by allowing those words to parrot in your head. And this is not a denigration, it's a truth that's hard to hear, right? You keep yourself dysregulated by parroting those words in your head. One of the fastest ways to regulate yourself is doing two things that have to do with how you treat yourself. One is giving yourself grace instead of shame. giving yourself compassion instead of judgment, giving yourself love instead of rejection. And the other is equally as difficult, at least for me, because I've spent so much of my life so dysregulated that I don't even know how to listen to my body. But actively listening and anticipating your body's needs. To sit there and literally just eat when you need to eat. Drink some water when you know, even if you don't have you don't have trigger for thirsty until you're way thirsty, knowing, okay, I should probably drink. My body would, at this point, physically would need water. Using the restroom, okay, it's been a while since I peed. Maybe I should pee. Oh, and you realize after you sit down you need to pee, so you're not in an urgency, like it's level 10, I'm going to wet myself if I don't pee. Totally guilty of that because I had such a hard time and I still am learning how to listen to my body. But those small, tiny human things, it's 24/7. Or if you're working and doing life, it can't be 24/7 with the, listening to your body because work takes over and school takes over and all of that. But when you can, do what you can with what you can. The more you can show up in those tiny human ways, you are literally each time saying, you matter to yourself. It's like you're staring in the mirror and saying to yourself over and over and over, you matter. You matter, you're worth it, you matter, you're worth it, you matter, you're worth it. Imagine that mantra in your head instead of the one that exists. Imagine if you replaced that inner bully with someone who was just like, it's okay. It's just a mess. We'll clean it up. It's okay. We're learning. We all start from zero. This is going to be so great because I'm here with you and I get to experience this with you. Imagine a world where that was the baseline. Imagine a world where that is what you live and exist in, instead of the one where you don't listen to yourself and you dismiss yourself and you kind of just obfuscate or shame yourself or judge yourself. That world, doing those simple things, it's so simple, not easy, so simple to shift those tiny things in how we treat ourselves. It's one of the most huge ways, the most integrated ways, the most natural, human, silly ways to help us know we're safe. And we cannot ask ourselves to be. We cannot ask ourselves to meditate. We cannot ask ourselves to thrive in an environment that's not safe. Both external and internal, we cannot ask that of ourselves. To ask yourself to be, to exist, to try to thrive when we're self-hating and damaging ourselves within ourselves, when we're not in a safe environment because we haven't said, you know what, as much as I love that person, they don't know how to love me. And I've got to walk away because as much as I love them, I have to love me first. And that's painful and it sucks because we want the fairy tale of what we thought it would be. I think the biggest thing that ever hurt me in my life was me telling me lies about what it would be, holding on to the fantasy that never was because I wanted the fantasy so much. Because if I loved enough, if I gave enough, it would work. I could do it. I could bend, I could break, I could mold, I could smush. But with each one of those choices, it was like cutting off a finger on my hand and then sitting there and saying, why can't I do it? Why can't I have that life when I have nothing left on my hands to be able to grasp it? I gave up pieces and parts of myself, chopping myself off, trying to be what I already could have been for myself. When we can sit there and instead of saying, if I get that, I'll have what I need. If we can stop and we can start and release the idea of a thing outside of us getting us what we need, and we can start by being that thing. It is so simple. It is not easy. But it is the most beautiful love story you will ever read, ever exist in, ever know. When you start looking in the mirror and instead of critiquing the body that's there, instead of shaming the thing that you should have done before and spiraling on how you failed, you instead look in the mirror and you can go, oh, she's cute. Or you can sit there and say, but you said sorry. But you took a deep breath and you start seeing what you did do. That world, I didn't know could exist, but it's so beautiful. So I want to talk about how all roads lead back to you, because you are living a life like you are directing a story that you think it should be, but you're never existing in your main character energy. You're looking at other people and being like, man, they're really cool over there. It'd be really awesome if I was like, no, it wouldn't. You're awesome as you are. If you drop trying to be that other person, if you drop trying to be the things that you aren't, if you stop trying to fit the mold that you were never meant to be, if you stop trying to be a size that your body doesn't naturally fit with, if you stop trying to present yourself like you're another personality and you just are you, you drop the coping mechanisms, you drop the behavioral tweaks that you did to appease a person who is never going to be able to love you how you deserved, and you start just being you. Do you know how amazing you are? I don't think you do. I didn't know how amazing I am, and I'm still learning. What are things I did that maybe they can help you? Because there's a long list of things you could find on the internet. The first is you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. That safety, that known, it feels safe, but it's a cage you lock yourself in every day. That safety, that known, it's the same feelings, the same hurts, the same betrayals you've already experienced, and you don't want that. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable, to have something look different. And that's scary, but you're worth facing that scary. You're worth facing the fact that you're going to have to mourn and let go and walk away, because part of loving is being able to walk away. Allowing them to hurt you over and over and over again isn't loving them. They can't learn. They can't see. Sometimes it is through loss. Sometimes it is through pain. Sometimes it is through consequence, boundaries being upheld, that a person can learn. But more importantly than them, and I know that's hard to hear, more importantly than them and how much you want to love them is you. You deserve yourself protecting yourself. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to get yourself out of what isn't safe. Both in an external sense, leave that relationship, leave that house, find someplace else. Live small. Live by the grit of your teeth if you have to. It's not an easy task. I'm not saying it's going to be simple. Not easy. I mean, it fairly is simple in the breakdown of things, but it's not easy. It is beautiful though, and you're worth it. But you're also going to have to get uncomfortable with, you're going to have to change how you talk to yourself. You're going to have to start observing what you're saying to yourself. Take a day and really pay attention to how you talk to yourself. For me, I did it, and every time I caught it, what I was saying to myself, I wrote it down. For 24 hours, just one day, I wrote it down. I was trying to be really, really aware, and I got 2 pages. I would never deign to say that to another person. And if I ever heard another person saying that, even if I didn't know that person, like if I heard another stranger saying that to another person, I would walk up and I would intervene. But I was living life saying it to myself. That can't stay. That isn't safe. You can't have your life look how you want it to look. You can't feel how you want to feel by continuously making yourself unsafe inside of yourself. So it starts with getting uncomfortable with paying attention, becoming aware of what you're actually saying. And then it starts with looking at why. Asking, is that true? Looking at where those words came from. Sitting with yourself That's so uncomfortable. I don't want to feel those things. When I start feeling all of those bad feelings, I want to run away. I want to escape. I want to hit something that will cause me dopamine. I want to eat junk food. I want to play something. I want to read a book. I want to watch something. I want to run away. I want to do anything but feel those. Because it's uncomfortable. Because I was told when I had those feelings, shh, stop crying. Smile. You're making other people uncomfortable. But we have to unlearn those patterns. So something that helps me to sit with myself is I imagine for a moment it was a small child that was feeling what I was feeling. How would I react? If it was my best friend having those feelings, how would I react? And I start showing up for myself like my own best friend, like I would for my kid. And I sit there and I say, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I felt that way too. Even if I'm talking to myself, I do those things. I don't try to fix it. I don't try to say what could happen. I just say, I got you. It's okay. We're safe now. But I can only say we're safe now because I got myself externally safe. And in this process, I'm trying to make myself internally safe. I did a lot of therapy because for me, I needed help. I needed help in rechanging the truths that I had. When I was 7 and I came in to get help and I didn't get help, and my internal self said, you don't deserve love. That was a truth that I took away from that, and I had to replace it with, just because they couldn't give me help doesn't speak to my worthiness. I needed help. So I did EMDR therapy, and I did ART therapy. And I am privileged in that ability. But some of the baseline truths is when you find yourself hitting those things and those feelings, sitting and wondering, okay, what are these truths that I say? What are these things that am I broken? Am I bad? Am I unworthy? Attachment therapy has this whole long list of questions and statements you can read and associate with the root cause of like your attachment, like stranglehold when you're a child. Integrated Family Systems has their own list. Like there's all these different lists, but they basically come down to these truths that we took away from these stories. Like when you watch a movie and you have this, like your takeaway is they're going to live happily ever after, or that guy was a jerk, or we have these truths that we take away from our own story. But we get to decide what that truth is. We defaulted to it as a little kid, and almost every default we had as a coping mechanism to survive, which was a gift from our old self, but not so much now, was something we had to adjust. Now it's time to look back on those memories and see them for what they were. It had nothing to do with our worthiness. It had nothing to do with our ability to be loved. It had everything to do with what they couldn't offer. It had everything to do with the fact their suitcase was fully packed and strapped to them, and they were unwilling to see their suitcase. And that's for them to unpack and deal with. No matter the shoulds, no matter the coulds, no matter the what we wish, no matter the fantasies we wish and we want, that's not there. We have our suitcase here. And spending time with yourself, with your feelings, spending time being aware of what you're saying and then stopping and saying, is that true? One of my kids has this thing where when they're corrected, they say, I'm the worst, and they really mean it. You know what I say? Don't talk about my kid that way. Don't talk about my kid that way. You're having a hard time with correction right now, but you are so great at so many things, and we list things that they're great at. And we counter with truth. Sometimes failure can be so much, especially for anybody who's neurospicy. that failure feels like the end of the world, but failure is the only path forward. Not to fail means we're stuck in the same cage we have been, and we don't want that. It's okay to fail. We all fail. We all start at zero. Some of the things that I started doing to love myself were to question. Silly things like trying to find, okay, what's my favorite sandwich, ice cream today? Do I really like fill in the blank? I told this story before, but I used to think my favorite sandwich was from Jersey Mike's, the number 13 Mike's Way. It's an Italian sub. I thought that was my favorite sandwich, right? So one day I really needed to get food and I went to a place and I ordered the sandwich, right? I take a bite of the sandwich and I'm really paying attention to the sandwich. I realize I don't like this sandwich. I am a grown adult. And my favorite sandwich, or the one I labeled was my favorite sandwich, I don't actually like the taste of. That literally broke my mind, broke my world. How could I have for so many decades have chosen and eaten this sandwich and thought I liked it and I don't actually like it? How is that a possibility? How is that a thing? Because I was running on default, because it was the sandwich that I was given and I could have. So I decided, a sandwich I can have versus not getting a sandwich, I'm going to choose that this is the best sandwich. It's a survival mechanism of a child. And then I continued to latch onto it because it was known. I latched onto it because I could. I latched onto it because I didn't ask questions and I didn't observe myself and I didn't pay attention to my needs because I was trained not to. So getting curious about what things you like and seeing if you really like them. Getting curious about when you're in a big feeling situation, what you might like. And literally responding like a child. Does a bath sound good? Ugh. Okay, not that. How about going outside? Okay, that's okay. What about, do I need to go in a dark room? Do I need a weighted blanket? Right? Getting curious about myself. And this is going to be like chaos. This is going to feel like you are a baby learning how to walk and you're constantly falling over, because we are babies learning how to be who we already thought we were, but we're not because we just kept pushing ourselves off. Learning how to stop and force yourself to compliment yourself. Like imagine you got ready for a date, right? And you walk out and imagine that person you were dating said all the things that you said to yourself about yourself. Oh, look at that belly. Oh, I don't like that color on you. Well, it'd be really nice if you were a size fill in the blank. You know, it'd be great if you had good hair. Whatever it is that you say, imagine they said that to yourself. You wouldn't stand by it, but you sit there and stand by when you do it. In the same way you would go on a date and you would want that person to compliment you, do it for yourself. Get dressed and force yourself to look in the mirror and say something positive. I forced myself for a year to look in the mirror and say, you are lovable, you are worthy of effort. And I couldn't do it without crying and without not believing it forever. It is not going to be do 3 things and it's fixed. But you are worth every ounce of energy and effort to do that. You are worth it. People may have taught you otherwise. You may not believe it, but I'm going to tell you right now. You are worth every ounce of discomfort, every ounce of energy, every head hitting against the wall, every difficulty, every nuanced repeat ad nauseum, having to relearn and relearn. You are worth the difficulty. You are worth every ounce of it. You are worth being loved. You are worthy of the effort. You are worth it. And you have to prove that to you, because me saying it doesn't counteract how many different people in your life have taught you that you weren't. But you know who can? You. You are strong and you have lived through so much that you didn't want to live through. It's now time to be strong for more than survival. It is now time to be strong to love you and show you how beautiful you are, because you are the person who has the reins and the ability to do that for yourself. And you are worth every ounce of it. You have given so much strength to survive. You have given so much strength to other people. It is time to show up in strength for yourself. All roads lead back to you. Everything you want, it isn't out there. It's in here. Everything you want, you already have, and it doesn't feel like it's true, but it is. The more that you sit with yourself, the more that you allow space for the feelings, the easier they dissipate. The more that you look back at your wounds, the less they hurt. The more that you change the narrative you took away from those pains, the less they affect and cut you. The more that you decide to forgive and give grace and compassion and love to yourself, the more you resonate within your person. The more you can start observing the small glimmers that people talk about, the more joy and thrive you will have. All roads lead back to you because you are the main character. You are the all. You have this beautiful voice, this amazingly fantastic heart, and you have chopped it up and you've minced it and you spread it out on the ground like it's nothing. It is time to bring those pieces back and solder them together and present them back as a beautiful art that you are. Get curious with yourself. Find out, do I enjoy baths? Okay, no. Do I enjoy walking around barefoot outside? Do I like going on hikes? Do I prefer listening to birds in the quiet calm of my back porch? Do I like writing in a journal? Do I like whistling? Another thing that has helped me with feelings are somatic stretches. I don't like processing feelings, and sometimes I don't have the time to do it all the place, but somatic stretching, somatic exercise, literally there are storage places in your body for trauma. And when you have the time, you can do these, and literally stretching those areas will unleash feelings, and it's big and it's hard, but it's a time frame that's controlled. And if you have a creative life, if you are a mom and you only have small snippets of time, you can do that for yourself and release those big feelings at large chunks of time. Doing that has helped me quite a bit to make it so it wasn't just unleashing at random times like it did, and having scheduled time frames for me to have release. Learning how to sit with myself, learning how to find things that I liked, learning how to have joy in the process, imagining myself like I was on a date, okay? I know how to love other people well, or at least I always thought so, but it always had constraints. It always had taints because of my need to be loved and need to have affection. I couldn't love them unconditionally because I wasn't loving myself unconditionally. But learning how to take the same principles I would apply to loving another person, like if I went on a date with a friend, the way that I would plan to do something, the way that I would sit there and listen to their stories, the way that I would be interested in their likes and dislikes and pay attention to the things they might mention because I might want to get them that later. Doing that same energy and effort towards myself. When I have a thought process of, I had a business trip where I had to go to the beach. And I finished with the meeting, and internally, I wanted to go to the beach. I was like, man, even if it's just for 20 minutes, I want to go walk in the sand and touch my feet in the water because I love the ocean. And then my productivity self was like, no, that's a waste of time. I would never say that to my best friend. If I was there with my best friend and they said, hey, can we go to the beach for 20 minutes? I wouldn't think, I would just be like, yeah, of course, 20 minutes, not that big of a deal. Why wouldn't we? So despite the difficulty of it, and it was difficult, I sat in my car literally for more than 20 minutes to get myself to go to the beach for 20 minutes. Because I battled with, it's not productive, you only have so much time free without the kids, this doesn't make any sense, there are other things you need to get done. Your frivolity, your joy is productive, is worth the energy. Showing up for yourself, even though it's difficult, loving yourself, dating yourself, that's the energy, that's the vibe. It's not going to be 1 + 1. It's gonna be learning how to walk. But it's a beautiful adventure. It's a beautiful adventure that then gets you to be able to walk on your own, run on your own, climb, hike. There is so much on the other side of you learning how to give yourself grace and compassion, there's an entire world, like when you learn how to walk, what comes out in front of you, the things, the tools, the abilities, all of it starts with you. All of it comes from you. Get curious. That's the best baseline I can give you, is get curious. Be willing to scientific method your own love for yourself. Stop looking at yourself like a problem and start looking at yourself like a puzzle. One that's worth sitting there and putting the pieces together. And not just to finish the project, but because it's fun doing the actual process. And each time you get a tiny piece, you're like, oh, that's really close. Oh, I didn't like the bath, but I did like the water. Maybe the ocean. Those are beautiful moments to learn. And learning how to celebrate all those tiny... You are so worth all of it. Everything you want, all of those feelings that you think those things are going to get, it's all here. It's all back within yourself. Everything you want is not outside of yourself. It is found within you. And that's not some type of kitschy thing. It's literally true. The more you sit with yourself, the more you love yourself, the more you start with compassion, the more you start with grace, the less you give judgment, the less you give shame, the more you open up your life to the thrive, to the manifestation, to the joy, to all the things you want. That relationship, you're never going to get some other person to love you how you want to be loved until you can learn how to love yourself. And I don't mean that like an if then or but, I just mean it like you are going to receive less than you are worth because you view yourself as less. You're not going to be able to manifest that life that you want because you don't see your value. You can't gain something outside of yourself that you don't think you already deserve. If you're going to sit there and continue to try to look outside of yourself, you're going to continue to find yourself disappointed because there's nothing that you can reach to. It is like chasing your shadow. You are doing it fruitlessly, and the only way to actually capture that shadow is to still yourself.